Head over to BoardGamePrices.com to find the best price for Heroes of Dominaria and thousands of other games. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we're going to be heroes going all over a world trying to gather all different types of mana. And once we capture those different types of mana, we'll be using those to further our objectives, getting quests and artifacts and all sorts of cool things. Today we're going to be talking about Magic the Gathering Heroes of Dominaria. This is a new board game for 2 to 4 players coming out from Wizkids, and it's a sort of an action selection game with some interesting twists to it. So let me show you how it's played, and I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of the game, each player gets to select a character. In this edition that I have, it came with a special edition pre-painted miniatures. Now I'm not sure if this is all of the first edition. I'm not quite sure, so you're going to want to look into that, but it appears that maybe all of the first editions come with this pre-painted miniature set. Now each of the players, in addition to getting the miniature, get a player board of that color and of that miniature there. Now there'll be some components being placed on here. You'll be removing these by taking actions and getting different abilities and points as the game goes on. But this is going to be your player board that you're going to be managing a lot of what you do throughout the game. And you'll also get some tokens and things like that. We'll go over what these different actions are in just a little bit. Now here we have the board set up for 4 players. Each player, through sort of a placement process, will be able to place their first hero and only hero out on one of these orange sort of starting circles. Now you can start in the same place as people or differently, but over the course of the game you're going to be taking actions like moving around the board, collecting these mana tokens in different types of areas, and we're using that as currency to take special actions and such. Now over the course of the game, one of the main things you're trying to do is get points by completing public quests. There's 5 of them out there, they're the same each game. The first person that will get there and do the quest will get 10 points, the second player will get 7, and you have to do different things to get these, and they'll make more sense after you talk about the game, but think of this as like public quests that you're trying to get points for throughout the game. Now also, at the beginning of the game, you're going to get to draft a certain amount of quests. 2 different quests that you'll get to draft, and these are different personal quests that nobody else knows you have, and you're trying to get these for points too, and you'll be able to gather these throughout the game as well. So most of the points are going to come from personal quests, public quests, and unlocking certain things on your board and getting points as you do that. So let's talk about how you go about doing these types of things. Now each player's turn goes through 2 phases, the mana phase and then the action phase. In the mana phase, you're going to flip over one of these cards, and this will tell you what type of locations are going to get mana. So in this case, all of the green locations will get mana, and this happens between every player's turn. And so each of those places is going to get a mana, and this is basically building up currency that people are going to want to go there with their heroes and try to gather some of that, because it's more than all the other locations at this point. And some cards will have you add tokens to specific locations. So this one will get an artifact token. We'll talk about some of these special tokens due later. Now turns are very simple in the action phase. There's a few things you can do. You can move, you can collect mana, you can complete quests, or you can activate some special abilities on your player aid card. Now when you move, you see these things here, these different places that you can move to. So you always get, at the beginning of the game, 1 move because you have 1 hero out there. So I can move this hero once. And in this case, I can move it here, and then I can decide to collect this mana. So I can collect 2 of these green mana. Now, collecting mana, you can only do it once per turn. So if you had multiple movements, as you'll see later, you can't move, then collect, and then move and collect. You can only collect once per turn. So we'll do that there, we'll collect that mana. So here I'd collect that mana. Now, you can do as many of these Planeswalker abilities on your player board as you can spend, and essentially you're going to be using different types of mana for currency to do all these. For example, this one, I need at least 1 green mana and 2 other mana of any kind. So right now I have a green and a green, I couldn't do this. But let's just say I had something like this, I had this, now I could spend it. I need at least a green and 2 others. So if I had these 3, I could spend these back into the supply and do this very action here like this. Now let's talk about some of these different actions. The icons match often with what's on your board. So here we can build a ley line because we built that. So to do that, you take the one furthest to the left. Now usually they have you actually cover there, and when you uncover things, you can see what will unlock. But since you haven't played the game before, I think it's easier to see what you might be unlocking when you do this. So you'll take this furthest one here. Now that 1 point means at the end of the game, you're going to get that many points from this line. The furthest down, as you can see, it goes all the way up to 15. If you get all these unlocked, it'll get you 15 points at the end of the game. But we get to put this out on the board. Now you can place this anywhere that's adjacent to one of your heroes like this, and other players can actually have ley lines in the same spot. But now what this means is that in a future turn, since I've already collected mana this turn, I can collect from, if I'm here, it connects me to here. So if there was mana here, I'd be able to connect there. So you can start to build yourself some ley lines and give you more abilities to get mana further away from where you're at. Now, if you spend 4 plus a white, you can add a hero. Now, the hero is going to get you one more move, and it's going to get you a certain amount of points as well, and those points go up as well. So I could have another hero. This would go into one of those starting locations, and now I have 2 movements during a turn. I could use, 2 on the same one, or the same one could move twice. So that's activating more heroes. The most you can have is 4. Now, if we activate this, a red and 4 others, we get to activate the Manolith. You get to build one of these. And as you build these, as you can see, the points are going to go up all the way up to 13 if you've built all of them. And what these are going to do, and some of them will actually unlock and allow you to get different quest cards. As we showed earlier, these are private quests that will give you points if you can do them. And anytime you get quests, you get to get 2 of them and choose one and discard the other. And as they're in play, they're in your hand over here face down. And once you finish them, they'll go over here and be completed. But let's just say we did this. I'll show you what these do. Yeah, and as the points go up, and sometimes you get some extra bonuses. So you'll place this where one of your heroes are, if you could do that. Of course, I wouldn't have had enough mana now, but I'm going through all the actions for you. Each of these can only be in different colors. So I have one here green. I couldn't put another one here. But what this does is everyone starts with one of each of these tokens for each of the different mana. And when you add a Manolith to a certain color, this goes on your board. Now, once per turn, you can spend this as a mana. So every turn I automatically start with green mana. Now, if I don't use it, I don't get more of these. You always just have one at most, and when you use it, you just push it off, and at the end of the round, you'll put it back on. So every time you build one of these, you're going to get basically 1 free mana of that type for the rest of the game. Now we put this artifact token here from the card that came out at the beginning of the round. Let's tell you how you could get this and what you do with these cards if you were there. Now here you could, if you had a blue and 3 others of any type, you could get this artifact token. It matches the symbol here and the token that we would have just picked up off there. Now from that, you draw 2 artifact cards and you pick one, you discard the other one at the bottom of the pile, but you get to keep this. They go in your in-play area over here, and they do really powerful things like, hey, you can spend mana as though it were any color for the rest of the game. Wow, that gives you a lot of flexibility. Or here, you can use 2 of your movement actions to move one of your heroes to any location. Wow, and they're always, most of them are worth points as well at the end of the game, so those are pretty powerful. Now the last one we haven't talked about the action here is going against the Cabal there. You need a black and 2 others. Now during that mana phase, when you flip up the card, some of them will have this icon on it, and you'll place that in that specific location. Let's say it was this one. Then if you're there, you can never collect mana from places that have a Cabal token there. So it basically stops people from collecting mana there. However, you can get rid of those by, if you're in this area, and you spend that black mana and 2 others, you take the Cabal from there and you place it here. At the end of the game, the furthest one that you've covered will give you points, but of course you unlock other things like gaining quests and things like that. Now that's pretty much it. Once each player has taken their turn, goes to the next player, they do the mana phase, they do their own turn phase, and then the round marker will move. And depending on the amount of players, you'll play a certain amount of rounds, and at the end, you'll score all the points that you have. And so at the end of the game, you're going to count up the points from any of the public quests you've gotten, any of the artifacts you've gotten, any of the quests that you've completed, and you're going to look at what you've unlocked. This will be 9 points, 7, 8, and 2, and then you add up all that, and whoever has the most is the winner. Now remember, there's 2 of each of these public quests, 10 points for the first one to do it, 7 points for the second one, nothing for anybody else that does it. And they're all pretty much getting certain things on all the different major actions you can take from your board. Like, you complete this if you've recruited all your heroes. If you have, 5 or more of those artifacts. If you've been able to have 5 or more of those Cabal tokens. If you've built all of your Manoliths. Or if you've built all of your ley lines. So those main actions, those are ways that you're going to go down and get those. And there's all sorts of different quests. Here's a few of them. You complete this if you discover an artifact in a location with 2 of your heroes. Or complete this quest to discover an artifact in a red or white location. Complete this quest if you have 3 or more heroes in the same location. Or if you've discovered 2 of the artifacts in 1 turn. And just to show you the other boards from the other players, they all are exactly the same. I kind of wish they would have had a backside where you could have somewhat of an asymmetrical character, maybe one with special abilities and such. And also the miniatures don't really do anything in the game, one of the negatives of it. Alright, well there you have Heroes of Dominaria from the Magic the Gathering board game. Now, this isn't something I would normally be super interested in, but the designers of this game are the same ones that did Lords of Waterdeep and Tyrants of the Underdark, 2 great games. So I was pretty interested to see what they would do with this. First of all, let's talk about things I liked about it. Good table presence. You know, you've got these big 3-dimensional mana lists sticking up. You've got the wooden components, the lays going around, the big heroes. So it does have good table presence as you're walking around and looking at this. I like the streamlined rule set. I mean, each turn you flip over a card, you add some mana, then you do whatever actions you want to take. You're basically just gathering, currency of that mana and spending it to do different things. So the rules are pretty simple. I like that there's different tracks to work on, whether you're going to go up the hero track or the manalith track, the lay track, all those different ways. And going down those are going to give you more benefits, more points, but they're also going to point you towards some of those public goals, public objectives, as well as some of your private objectives as well. So I like that there's different ways that you can go, and they all seem to be somewhat viable. So I like the artifacts. That's actually my favorite thing to do, is go out and get those, grab some really cool abilities, choose which one you want from the 2, and use that for the rest of the game. Plus it's points too, and then you can sort of use that as almost like an engine builder to see how you're going to plan the rest of your turns. I like the quests. I like the private quests. I like that when you get quests, you get to look at 2 of them and pick one. Going for the public quest is always cool too. You can kind of look around and see what people are doing. For the one that you're going for, are you going to get it, or are you going to get the second place 7.1? So I like the different quests there. That felt a little bit Waterdeep-ish, getting to that. So I felt like this had sort of a Lords of Waterdeep complexity, but using action selection instead of worker placement, and without sort of the take that aspect that Waterdeep had with those cards that you could play that really screw people over. So that's sort of in the world that this lives in. So overall, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was good. I liked sort of the arc to the game. As you're going on, you're building these things up that allows you to do other things, like the mana lists give you mana every time, or the artifacts give you abilities, or you're getting more heroes with more flexibility, or you're building up those lays that get to not have to move around so much if you're not going with a lot of heroes. And I like how some of them give you, certain things. Like if you keep going down the green mana track to get the lays, you keep getting more of those. It helps you go down there. So overall, I liked the game. It had a good arc to it. It didn't overstay its welcome. It did take about 1 hour to play, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun experience. I think this is one that a lot of people are going to like in that aspect of just the streamline, the way it works. Things that I didn't like about it. I would have loved to have seen those player boards have sort of a second side that was asymmetric, but still balanced. Maybe it would have you have a special ability for you. Maybe it will have you, the tracks and the way that those work and how many points each one of those give you might be something different. And maybe it would kind of give you a hint like, hey, this one's better at doing this, right? And maybe you would kind of go down that track for the game that you play that one. I would have liked to have seen something like that. The minis, they're cool. And in my version, they were painted, but they don't do anything. In fact, it doesn't even say use these for your first hero. Like it still says just use your wooden hero. At the very least, just use them for your first hero. That's kind of cool, but I really wish they would have done something with those. My last negative is I think Magic the Gathering fans might be disappointed that there's no sort of attacking, no card play. I really expected some of the ways to get points would be to go where somebody is, or maybe where somebody's connected to one of your lays, play some cards that or do an action if you have enough mana to do some damage to them. Just even something simple like that to kind of stay in that realm of Magic. I was kind of surprised there wasn't any of that. I think there's some ways you could do that streamlined, but overall I think a lot of people are going to like the game, and that is the Magic the Gathering Heroes of Dominaria. The overview in this video was shot on a Watson model Game Topper. Upgrade every game you play with the ultimate gaming accessory, Game Toppers, shipping now. Check them out at GameToppersLLC.com.